It was at a time when Meghan Markle's father was gravely ill in hospital. The Sun newspaper has revealed that the Duchess of Sussex has sent her estranged father an email. He has begged Meghan to see him before he dies, Kinsey.
It seems funny to me that one of Fortune's most powerful women can't make a simple phone call to her father. I don't know what else we expect from her these days, but I think that she had to do this. She's trying to promote a Christmas special where she shoves family down our throat, and it
Perhaps pick up the phone or visit. I know those two things are quite dramatic, but an email, I mean, it just is so transactional and lacking in feeling, Kinsey.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is.
Breaking news from the palace walls. And what I'm about to share with you perfectly encapsulates everything we've come to understand about Meghan Markle: the calculated image management, the convenient timing, the half measures designed to look caring without actually requiring genuine emotion or vulnerability. It was at a time when Meghan Markle's father was gravely ill in hospital, fighting for his life after emergency surgery. A moment when most daughters would drop everything, would rush to their father's side, would pick up the phone and speak to him regardless of past conflicts. But Meghan Markle isn't most daughters. Instead, according to reports, the Duchess of Sussex sent her estranged father an email. Not a phone call, not a visit, not even flowers sent to the hospital with a message. An email. Can you imagine this? Your father is facing what doctors described as life-or-death surgery. He's elderly, unwell, possibly facing his final days. And your response is to send an email? But here's where the story gets even more revealing. Thomas Markle says he never received any email. He says Meghan's claim of reaching out is complete fiction, manufactured PR to make her look compassionate when she's actually done nothing. And when investigators looked into the email address Meghan claimed to use, they discovered it had been inactive for 5 years.
Dead.
Unused. Impossible to have sent or received messages through it. Which means either Meghan is lying about reaching out to her dying father, or she deliberately sent an email to an address she knew was inactive so she could claim she tried while ensuring her father would never actually receive it. Both possibilities are chilling. Both reveal something fundamental about who Meghan really is beneath the carefully polished public image. Kinsey Schofield, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, put it perfectly. Messy Markle is back. Meghan says she emailed her father after his life-or-death surgery, though he says otherwise. The email she supposedly used has been inactive for 5 years, leaving the public to wonder who's telling the truth. It seems funny to me that one of Fortune's most powerful women can't make a simple phone call to her father. Can you imagine the layers of dysfunction this reveals? Meghan has been named one of Fortune's most powerful women. She has resources, connections, assistants, publicists, legal teams. She could arrange anything she wanted. A phone call, a private visit, a video chat, even just a handwritten letter sent through intermediaries. But instead, she allegedly sent an email to a dead email address and then told the media she'd reached out to her dying father. As if that checked the box. As if that fulfilled her daughterly duty. Tonight, we're going to examine exactly what happened with Thomas Markle's surgery. The timeline of when Meghan claimed to reach out versus when she was promoting her Netflix Christmas special about family and togetherness. The pattern of Meghan's relationship with her father and how every interaction seems designed for public consumption rather than genuine connection. And we're going to explore why this moment, this cold, calculated non-gesture toward her dying father, might be the clearest window we've ever had into Meghan's actual character beneath all the humanitarian branding. Because here's what makes this story so significant. It's not about whether Meghan owes her father a relationship. People have complicated family dynamics, and sometimes estrangement is justified. But Meghan doesn't just maintain distance from her father. She performs concern for public relations purposes while ensuring that concern never translates into actual human connection. She wants credit for caring without actually having to care. She wants the image of being a dutiful daughter without doing anything that would require vulnerability, risk, or genuine emotion. And the timing of this alleged email, right as she's promoting a Christmas special about family, reveals the transactional nature of every choice Meghan makes. So before we dive into Thomas Markle's health crisis, before we examine the inactive email address, before we look at the pattern of Meghan using her father for PR purposes while treating him with contempt in reality, I need you to ask yourself, what kind of person sends a performative email to a dying parent through an address they know won't work, just so they can claim they tried? Because by the end of this investigation, you're going to see that this moment isn't an aberration. It's perfectly consistent with everything else we know about how Meghan Markle operates. Let's begin with Thomas Markle's medical emergency and why his daughter's response reveals everything you need to know about who she really is. Thomas Markle is 80 years old. He's suffered multiple strokes in recent years. His health has been declining steadily, and everyone who knows him understands that his time is limited. In late 2024, Thomas faced what doctors described as a medical emergency requiring immediate surgery. Not elective surgery. Not a routine procedure. Life-or-death intervention to address a condition that could have killed him within hours if left untreated. Can you imagine being in that position? You're elderly, unwell, facing surgery where the outcome is genuinely uncertain. And you know that your daughter, the one who became a duchess, who has wealth and resources beyond measure, hasn't spoken to you in years. Thomas Markle has been public about his feelings toward Meghan's abandonment of him. He's done interviews, written statements, begged her publicly to reconnect. Some people see this as manipulative attention-seeking. Others see it as the desperate pleas of an abandoned father who doesn't understand why his daughter cut him off completely. But regardless of how you interpret his public statements, one fact is undeniable. Thomas Markle loved his daughter, invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in her education and early career, and has been completely frozen out of her life since she married Harry. When news broke about Thomas's emergency surgery, media outlets contacted Meghan's representatives for comment. What would the Duchess of Sussex say about her father fighting for his life? The response came not as a statement of concern, not as a request for privacy during a difficult family time, but as a claim. Meghan had reached out to her father via email to wish him well. Can you imagine how calculated that response was? Not, "We're keeping Thomas in our thoughts," or "This is a private family matter." But specifically, Meghan sent an email, as if that detail was important. As if the media needed to know the exact method of outreach, so they could report that Meghan had done something, anything, to acknowledge her father's crisis. But here's where the story immediately started to fall apart. Thomas Markle told reporters he'd received no email from Meghan. No message. No outreach of any kind. Nothing. At first, this seemed like a he-said-she-said situation. Maybe Thomas didn't check his email. Maybe it went to spam. Maybe there was confusion about which email account was used. But then investigators dug deeper into the email address Meghan's team claimed she used to contact her father. And what they found was devastating to Meghan's narrative. The email address had been inactive for 5 years. Not recently deactivated. Not temporarily out of service. Dead for 5 years. No messages had been sent or received through that address since 2019. Which means one of two things happened. Scenario 1. Meghan's team lied about her sending an email. They manufactured this story to make her look compassionate and responsive to her father's medical crisis. Knowing the media would report, Meghan reached out, without verifying whether Thomas actually received anything. Scenario 2. Meghan deliberately sent an email to an address she knew was inactive, ensuring her father would never receive it, so she could tell the media she'd reached out while guaranteeing no actual communication occurred. Can you imagine either scenario? Both involve deception. Both involve using her father's life-or-death surgery as a PR opportunity. Both reveal someone more concerned with managing public perception than with actually connecting with her dying father. Kinsey Schofield's commentary captures the absurdity perfectly. It seems funny to me that one of Fortune's most powerful women can't make a simple phone call to her father. This isn't about Meghan being too busy or too overwhelmed to manage complex communication. This is about someone who has assistants, publicists, legal teams, and unlimited resources, choosing not to make a simple phone call to her father in the hospital. Think about how easy this would have been if Meghan actually wanted to reach her father. She could have called the hospital directly, and asked to be connected to his room. She could have sent flowers with a card. She could have reached out through her half-sister Samantha, who maintains contact with Thomas. She could have sent a representative to visit on her behalf. But she did none of those things. Instead, she allegedly sent an email to a dead email address and then told the media she'd reached out. That's not communication. That's performance. That's checking a box for PR purposes while ensuring no genuine connection occurs. Let me ask you, if your parent was facing life or death surgery, would an email feel like an appropriate response? Would you feel you'd fulfilled your obligation as a son or daughter by sending an electronic message, especially to an address you knew might not be active? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we're about to examine the timing of this alleged outreach and why it's so revealing about Meghan's motivations. When we come back, we're looking at what Meghan was promoting at the exact moment her father was fighting for his life, and why that timing exposes the transactional nature of everything she does. Stay with us. Now we need to talk about timing, because the moment when Meghan allegedly sent this email to her dying father wasn't random. It was strategically chosen to serve her public image at a crucial moment. Thomas Markle's surgery happened in late 2024. And what was Meghan promoting at that exact time? Her Netflix Christmas special, a show centered entirely around themes of family, togetherness, and holiday connection. Can you imagine the cognitive dissonance? Meghan is producing content about the importance of family, while her own father lies in a hospital bed fighting for his life, estranged from her completely. The optics were terrible, and Meghan's PR team knew it, because as Kinsey Schofield pointed out, she had to do this. She's trying to promote a Christmas special where she shoves family down our throat, and it's literally familyless. So she knew that this was detrimental to her brand and career. So she claimed she reached out to her father despite him saying otherwise. Let me break down what Kinsey is revealing here. This wasn't about Meghan genuinely caring about her father's health. This was about damage control. This was about preventing critics from pointing out the hypocrisy of Meghan lecturing about family values while completely abandoning her own father. The alleged email served one purpose: giving Meghan's team something to tell the media. No, Meghan hasn't abandoned her father. She reached out during his surgery. She sent an email. It created a headline that could be cited whenever someone accused Meghan of being heartless toward her father. It gave her defenders something to point to. She did reach out. There was an email. Except there wasn't. Or if there was, it was sent to an address that hadn't functioned in 5 years. Can you imagine the level of calculation this requires? Your father is facing life or death surgery, and your first thought isn't, I should call him, or I should be there. It's, I need to create a PR narrative that makes me look compassionate without actually having to do anything. This is what Kinsey means when she calls it messy Markle. Because Meghan's attempts at image management are so transparent, so obviously performative, that they expose exactly what they're trying to hide. The timing reveals everything. If Meghan genuinely wanted to reconnect with her father, she could have done so years ago. She could have reached out privately, away from media attention, when Thomas first started having health problems. But she didn't. She maintained complete silence until the moment when that silence became PR damaging. And even then, her outreach was designed to generate a headline without requiring actual human connection. Let's look at the broader pattern of Meghan's relationship with her father, because this moment isn't isolated. It's part of a consistent pattern of Meghan using Thomas for her benefit when useful and discarding him when inconvenient. Before Meghan met Harry, Thomas was a valued part of her life. He'd paid for her private school education, funded her college tuition, used his industry connections to help her career. Meghan spoke about him positively, included him in her social media, presented herself as a devoted daughter. Then she started dating Harry, and suddenly Thomas became a liability. Not cultured enough. Not polished enough. Not the kind of father who fit the image of a woman worthy of marrying a prince. So Meghan started distancing herself. Thomas claimed she stopped taking his calls, stopped responding to messages, essentially ghosted her own father. Then came the wedding drama. Thomas was supposed to walk Meghan down the aisle, but he had a heart attack shortly before the ceremony. Meghan's response wasn't concern for her father's health. It was anger that he disrupted her perfect royal wedding. Can you imagine that? Your father has a heart attack, and your primary emotion is irritation that he won't be able to fulfill his role in your wedding ceremony? Thomas claims Meghan never called to check on him after his heart attack, never asked about his recovery, just moved on with the wedding using Charles to walk her down the aisle instead, and cut Thomas out of her life completely. Since then, Thomas has had multiple health crises, strokes, declining mobility, ongoing health problems that everyone knows are bringing him closer to the end of his life. And through all of it, Meghan has maintained complete silence. Until this moment, when acknowledging his medical emergency served her PR purposes. That's not compassion. That's not family loyalty. That's transactional image management, plain and simple. Rita Panahi, in her commentary on this situation, captured the emptiness of Meghan's gesture perfectly. An email, really? Like you couldn't even send a message to the hospital, send some flowers, send a message by a sibling? Perhaps pick up the phone or visit. I know those two things are quite dramatic, but an email, it just is so transactional and lacking in feeling. Can you hear the disgust in that assessment? Because Rita is pointing out what everyone can see. This isn't how people who actually care about their family members behave. This is how people who care about their image behave. A phone call would require actual conversation. Flowers would require coordination with the hospital. A visit would require showing her face, where cameras might capture the moment. Even a message through Samantha would require acknowledging that Meghan has family members she's cut off. But an email to a dead email address? That's perfect. It creates the appearance of outreach without requiring any genuine effort, emotion, or risk. Let me ask you, can you think of any other public figure who would respond to their parents' life or death surgery with an email to an inactive address and think that fulfilled their family obligation? Comment below. Because we're about to examine Meghan's pattern of performative family gestures and why this email perfectly fits that pattern. When we come back, we're looking at every other time Meghan has used family members for PR purposes while treating them with contempt behind the scenes. Stay with us. The email to Thomas Markle's inactive address isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a broader pattern of Meghan performing concern while ensuring that concern never translates into actual human connection or vulnerability. Let's examine this pattern chronologically, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Meghan presents her relationship with her mother as close, loving, and supportive. Doria appears at key public events, is photographed with Meghan at strategic moments, and is held up as evidence that Meghan values family. But sources close to the situation report that Meghan's actual relationship with Doria is more complicated than the public image suggests. That Doria is kept on a tight leash, told when to appear and what to say, and is essentially used as a prop to demonstrate Meghan's connection to her Black heritage and her family values. Can you imagine that dynamic? Using your own mother as a strategic asset rather than having a genuine, unguarded relationship with her? Before Meghan met Harry, she had relationships with her half-siblings, her father, her extended family. Not perfect relationships, but normal family connections with typical complications. The moment those relationships became inconvenient, when they didn't fit the image Meghan wanted to project, she cut them off completely. Not gradually. Not with explanations or attempts at reconciliation. Just brutal, complete severance. And when those family members spoke publicly about feeling abandoned, Meghan's response wasn't to address their concerns privately. It was to paint them as toxic, jealous, and undeserving of connection. Meghan has successfully severed Harry from almost everyone he was close to before meeting her. His brother, his father, his childhood friends, extended family members who'd known him his entire life. And in each case, the severing is portrayed as necessary because these people are toxic, controlling, or racist. Never is it presented as Meghan isolating Harry from everyone who might question her influence over him. Can you see the pattern? Meghan maintains relationships only with people she can control or use for strategic purposes. The moment someone becomes difficult, asks questions, or doesn't serve her image, they're cut off and villainized. Meghan frequently makes public statements about compassion, kindness, and the importance of family. But her actual behavior toward family members shows none of those values. She talks about supporting women while allegedly bullying royal staff members until they left their positions. She talks about mental health awareness while allegedly triggering Kate's stress-induced health issues through constant drama. She talks about family values while abandoning her father during multiple medical emergencies. The disconnect between what Meghan says publicly and how she actually treats people privately is staggering. And this email to her dying father is the perfect encapsulation of that disconnect. Whenever Meghan is accused of being cold or heartless, she makes a performative gesture designed to counter the narrative without requiring genuine vulnerability or connection. Accused of abandoning her father? Send an email to a dead address so you can claim you reached out. Accused of not caring about children? Do a photo op at a school. Accused of being shallow? Give a speech about humanitarian values. Every gesture is calculated to generate a headline that counters criticism without actually changing her behavior. Can you imagine living this way? Where every action is filtered through, how will this look publicly, rather than, what's the right thing to do? Kinsey Schofield addressed this pattern directly. I don't know what else we expect from her these days. There's resignation in that statement. An acknowledgement that this is who Meghan is, and we shouldn't be surprised when she behaves exactly according to pattern. But here's what makes the email to Thomas particularly egregious. This wasn't just a missed birthday or a forgotten holiday card. This was her father facing death. And even in that moment, even when most people would experience genuine fear about losing a parent forever, Meghan's response was performative rather than authentic. That reveals something profound about her capacity for genuine human connection. Because if you can't set aside image management when your father is dying, when can you? Let me ask you, have you ever known someone who performs caring without actually caring? Who makes gestures designed to look compassionate without feeling any genuine compassion? Drop your experiences in the comments. Because understanding this pattern is key to understanding why Meghan's defenders keep claiming she's being unfairly attacked when really, people are just accurately describing her consistent behavior. When we come back, we're examining what Thomas Markle's response to this alleged email reveals about the truth of the situation. Stay with us. Thomas Markle's response to Meghan's claim that she sent him an email was simple and devastating. I received nothing. Not, I didn't check my email. Not, maybe it went to spam. Just a flat denial that any communication from Meghan occurred. Can you imagine being Thomas in this situation? You've just survived life or death surgery. You're elderly, unwell, facing the reality that your time is limited. And your daughter, who hasn't spoken to you in years, tells the media she sent you an email as if that fulfills her obligation to care about your survival. And you know it's a lie. You know no email arrived. You know this is just another instance of Meghan using you for PR purposes without actually having to connect with you as a human being. Thomas has been remarkably consistent in his statements about Meghan over the years. He's hurt, confused, and desperate to understand why his daughter cut him off so completely. He freely admits he made mistakes, cooperating with a photographer before the wedding, giving interviews when perhaps he shouldn't have. But he maintains that those mistakes don't justify the complete severance Meghan imposed. That a loving daughter would accept an apology, set boundaries, and maintain some level of relationship with her father rather than treating him as if he's dead. When reporters asked Thomas about the alleged email, he didn't equivocate. He said clearly, Meghan has not contacted me. No email. No message. Nothing. If she's telling people she reached out, that's not true. That's a definitive statement. Not wishy-washy. Not I don't think so, or I might have missed it. A clear claim that Meghan's narrative is false. So, who's telling the truth? Let's examine the evidence. Evidence supporting Thomas. The email address Meghan allegedly used has been inactive for 5 years. Thomas has no motivation to lie about receiving an email. Admitting he heard from Meghan would actually benefit him by showing she still cares. Thomas's other family members confirm he received no communication from Meghan. Thomas has been consistently honest about wanting reconciliation, so denying contact doesn't serve his interests. Evidence supporting Meghan. Her PR team's statement that she sent an email. That's literally it. Just the claim itself with no verification. Can you see the imbalance here? All the verifiable evidence supports Thomas's version. The only support for Meghan's claim is her team saying it happened. And when you factor in the inactive email address, Meghan's version becomes impossible to believe. She either lied about sending an email, or she sent it to an address she knew wouldn't work, so she could claim she tried while ensuring no actual communication occurred. Either way, Thomas's version is vindicated. No genuine outreach happened. But there's something deeper in Thomas's response that's worth examining. In subsequent interviews, he spoke about the pattern of Meghan using him for PR purposes while treating him with contempt in reality. She does this whenever she needs to look compassionate, Thomas said. She'll let her people put out a story that she's reached out or tried to connect, but it's never real. It's always for show. He continued, I've learned not to expect actual communication from Meghan. I know that won't happen. But it hurts that she uses my health problems as opportunities to make herself look caring when she's done nothing. That's worse than silence. That's cruelty disguised as compassion. Can you imagine the pain in that statement? Not just the pain of estrangement from his daughter, but the pain of being used. Of having your medical emergencies turned into PR opportunities for the person who abandoned you. Thomas also addressed the timing directly. She's promoting a show about family while her real family is dying and she can't even make a phone call. That tells you everything you need to know about what matters to her. It's all performance. None of it is real. That's a father who's finally understood that his daughter values public image over genuine human connection. Who's accepted that he'll never get the reconciliation he desperately wants because Meghan doesn't actually care about relationships, only about how relationships make her look. And sources close to Thomas say this email incident was particularly painful because he'd been hoping Meghan's Christmas special about family might signal a softening. That maybe promoting family values would remind her that she has an actual father she's abandoned. Instead, she used a surgery as a PR opportunity without any genuine outreach, confirming that nothing has changed. That she's still the same person who values image over authenticity. Let me ask you, who do you believe? A father who's been consistent in his statements and has nothing to gain from lying? Or a daughter whose PR team issued a claim that's contradicted by verifiable evidence about the email address being inactive? Comment below, because we're about to examine why this matters beyond just Meghan and Thomas's relationship. When we come back, we're looking at what this email incident reveals about Meghan's capacity for genuine human connection and why that's relevant to everything else she does. Stay with us. The email to Thomas Markle's inactive address matters because it reveals something fundamental about Meghan's character that extends far beyond her relationship with her father. It shows us how Meghan approaches every relationship and every situation through the lens of image management rather than genuine human connection. Can you imagine living this way? Where even your response to your father's life or death surgery is calculated based on how it will look publicly rather than on what genuine concern would require. This isn't about whether Meghan owes her father a relationship. Families are complicated, and sometimes estrangement is the healthiest option. But that's not what's happening here. If Meghan genuinely believed her father was toxic and that maintaining distance was necessary for her well-being, she would simply maintain that distance without making performative gestures designed to look caring. But she can't do that, because she needs the public to see her as compassionate and family-oriented. She needs to maintain the image of being a good person even while behaving in ways that contradict that image. So, she makes gestures that look like caring without requiring actual caring. She sends emails to inactive addresses so she can claim she reached out. She tells people she's tried to connect while ensuring no genuine connection occurs. This is what psychologists call impression management. It's when someone is more concerned with how they're perceived than with who they actually are. When maintaining an image takes priority over authentic behavior. And once you understand that Meghan operates this way, so much of her behavior makes sense. The Oprah interview, calculated to generate sympathy while positioning her as a victim, regardless of whether the claims were accurate or fair. The podcast and Netflix deals, designed to maintain public relevance and create an image as a content creator, even though the actual content has been widely criticized as shallow and self-serving. The humanitarian appearances, strategic photo ops that generate headlines about her compassion without requiring sustained commitment to any cause. The birthday Zoom calls, publicized widely to show her connecting with causes, even though the actual impact is minimal. Every action is filtered through, what will this make people think of me? Rather than, what's the right thing to do? Can you imagine being married to someone who operates this way? Where everything is performance, everything is calculated, everything is about managing image rather than being authentic.